Everyone, I'm going to demonstrate how to write code with a test-driven development approach using Java programming language. To do that, I will write a small method to calculate simple interest. So let's begin. So I have created a class called simple interest. I will So I'm using Spring Boot framework to demonstrate this TDD approach. So I will annotate this with a component so that I can inject this into my test class. I'm generating it's a test class out of this simple interest class, and I'm using JUnit5. So this will be the test runner at a Spring Boot test, and I need simple interest class object. So first I'm going to write a negative scenario by passing negative values for calculating simple interest, and I'm expecting an exception to be thrown out of it. So to pass the parameter, there are to calculate simple interest, it requires three parameters: principal amount, rate, and duration. So instead of passing on these parameters individually, I am going to create a class object which will carry this three input parameters, because these three input parameters are closely coupled and required to calculate simple interest for a single reason. So it's also a good practice to have a less number of parameters so that it increases the readability to understand the code. So I'm creating a class simple interest param. So I have to create this class. I'm creating this class inside a model package. And I'm using Lombok to generate no all argument constructor. And I'm just having a getter method, not a setter method. So first parameter is amount of type long I'm taking. Second parameter I'm taking as rate of type double. and third parameter I'm taking time as a year, also type of double. So now my model class is ready to carry my input data. Okay, there seems some spelling mistakes, so I will just copy and paste. So now I have created my uh, model class to for input parameter. I'll just passing input values here in the constructor. So I have passed for amount -1, rate -2, and year -3. So now I'm expecting an exception to be thrown in case of negative input parameters. So exception is invalid input simple interest exception. This exception to be thrown. So I have to create this class as well. Creating class is very easy in IntelliJ. So I'm creating this into the exception package. So I have just extended exception class, and I have added a one parameterized constructor and passing the same message to the superclass. So now this compilation error is gone. So I'm expecting this exception class to be thrown when I am calling method from simple interest class, and the method name is get simple interest from the simple interest parameter. So to get rid of this compilation error, I will just create a method in this simple interest class with the return type double. So I have to return some value to get rid of the compilation error. I'll be removing this. Return 00. So now this looks fine. So I am, along with the exception, I'm also expecting a proper message to be conveyed to the exception recipient. So what should be done to get rid of this exception? So I will assert that message as well. So I'm expecting the message something like simple interest input parameter should be positive numbers. Be positive should be positive values. Yeah, so now my all expectation with respect to this test case is ready. I will run this test case and it should fail first, and then I have to make this test case pass. So I am expecting this to fail. Let's see it fails for what reason. So it has failed. Let's see what is the reason behind this failure. Expected invalid input simple interest exception to be thrown, but nothing was thrown. This is exactly what we can expect. So now to pass this particular test case, let's validate this input into the get simple interest from method. So to validate this particular input values, I will write one method to validate simple. So this is validate simple interest parameter, will validate the simple interest parameter. This is a private method. So if my simple interest dot amount is less than 1 or rate is less than 1, so bank is having a policy that no interest rate, no loan should be given with the interest rate less than 1. So that is the policy which is the validation here. So it's a small bank which doesn't offer with the 0% interest rate, and here should also be should not be less than 1. So if that is the case, I am throwing an exception which is invalid input simple interest exception, and the message which I will pass is the message which I am expecting here. So I will not write over there, rather I would just copy and paste it. So now it is showing compilation error to add this exception to the method signature, which I will add it, and the same compilation error will show for the parent method as well. So here also I will add that. It's not required to handle this exception in get simple interest from method, because this is not the actual recipient for this particular exception in message. This exception should be thrown back to the original caller, which is expected to give a proper input to calculate simple interest from. So this exception will be handled at the edges at the input layer. So here we are throwing it back. So now I'm expecting my test case to be passed. So let's see. Hope, finger crossed. Yeah, great, congratulations, my first test case is passed. So that's fine. Now I'm going to write another test case to check if the input parameter to calculate simple interest is not going beyond a certain limit which bank does not allow. So I am testing this case with the out of range. So test input invalid input simple interest with out of range values. Yeah, so this is my another test case. So this keeping this method name proper is also very important. This serves as a purpose of documentation for the newcomers to understand a particular scenario and functionalities. So at this time I am passing some value like 1 0 0 0 0 0 कायदा सैकड़ा हजार 10,000 लाख 10 lakh crore. So it's a small bank not gives more than 1 crore to the borrower. This and interest rate could be fine if there are more interest rate, but for the year also bank does not allow for a lender to get a loan for more than 30 years. So 31 should be our out of range value. So max 30 number of years and max 1 crore for the principal amount. So in that case also I'm expecting invalid input simple interest exception when I'm calling the same method get simple interest from the simple interest class with the simple interest parameter having out of range value. But this time my message should be different to convey to the original caller of this method. So simple input parameter should be simple interest input parameter amount should be max 1 crore and max number of years should be 30. So simple interest input parameter amount should be max 1 crore and max number of years should be 30. So this is the message I want to convey to the exception recipient in case of exception. So let's run this particular new test case, and as usual I'm expecting these to fail first. So this is the funda of test driven development. You write first test case, make sure that test case is failing, then you go and write the code to fix that test case, and then you run the test case again. That should pass. So it's red, write code, and then green. So let's see what is the error message. It's as expected input simple interest exception to be thrown, but nothing was thrown. So let's write code to throw that particular exception. So I'm going to simple interest class and writing another piece of validation. I'm just copying and pasting this, and I will be updating this. So if in case of simple interest amount is greater than 1 crore, this is 1 crore, and I'm just saying this in case of I'm just testing next as number of years. If that is greater than 30, so I will be throwing again the same exception but with a different message. So let's copy the message. Do not write this huge long message. I hope this message should convey a proper information to the recipient to understand this exception. And now I'm expecting my test case to pass. So let's run this. So this is coming green, so this is passing. That's good news. So now that method has been checked for negative numbers out of range values. Now I will be writing some positive test cases to calculate simple interest. So this will test simple straight with positive values, positive input values. So again I'll be creating input parameter, and this time I'll be passing some meaningful value like amount is 100 and interest rate is 10 and the number of years is 5. So this should give me for 5 years with a rate of 10% interest, it should give me 150 as a total amount to be paid. So I'm asserting that particular expectation. So my expected value is 150.00 because it's a double value, and I'm calling same method again, get simple interest from, with the parameter having some positive values. It is giving me compile time exception because this particular get simple interest from method is throwing an exception which I have to handle. So I'm not going to handle, rather I am throwing it back. And so let's run this test case, which I am again expecting to be failed. So as expected, this has failed. Let's see what is the message it is saying. So it is saying expected value is 150.0, but the actual is 0.0, which is the default return value. So let's fix this. So I'm going to write another method to calculate simple interest. Why I'm writing this another private method? Because I want to have all the statement in a method with the same level of abstraction. So one, I'm not going to write it, one is having a validate, so I'm not going to write a detail here. Rather I will call another method to calculate simple interest from the input simple interest parameter. So this should be the return value now. So I will delete this return statement and I will create this private method which is returning double value. So I will return here simple interest dot get amount plus simple interest dot get amount multiply by simple interest dot get rate multiply by simple interest simple interest yes simple interest dot get here. So this will calculate a simple interest with the total amount to be paid. So now this should pass my failing test case, and that should complete also the functionality to calculate simple interest. Oh, this has got a failure. I will just check what is the failure value. So yeah, okay, I made some mistake actually to form the formula. Actually here it would be divide by 100. So now let's check this test case. Yeah, perfect. Now it is passing. So just to be sure with the fractional input value, how does it behave, I will write another test case to have with the double value with the fractional rate value. So I'm making this rate to be 2.5 for 1 year. So it should be 102 rupees and 50 paisa. 102 rupees and 50 paisa as a total amount to be paid. So let's check, this should pass. Yeah, as expected, this is also working. I will just add one more test case for the fractional value for year, because these two values are having can have fractional input values. So for 1.5 year with the rate of 10, so in 1 year it would be 110 rupees, for half an year 5 rupees more, so it would be 115 rupees and 0 paisa. So I'm expecting this to pass. So if this pass, we have covered a basic scenarios to calculate simple interest, and with this 5 test cases, which is validating input values plus the expected positive response, and the benefit of writing code with the trust driven development approaches, it covers it gives almost 100% code coverage. So let's check how much is the code coverage for this test case. So I will run this test case with the test coverage, and we'll see. So here it shows for class it's 100%, for method it's 100%, for lines also it is 100%. So that is the one of the good uh, benefit of writing code with the test driven development approach. Thanks for the uh, watching my video, and if you have any comment or queries, doubts related to this, please write a comment.